Hello everybody, it's the Gruppeteer, and welcome back to another episode of Cartoons vs. Cancer with Mr. Warburton, the creator of Codename Kids Next Door. Of course, we're very happy to have him today, and Cartoons vs. Cancer is all to help my good friend Maddie Carlson, who has Ewing sarcoma cancer. And luckily, the cancer did not spread to her lungs. They did an exam yesterday, and that's just dandy. And so we're happy to have Mr. Warburton, the creator of Codename Kids Next Door, and the author of 1,000 Times No on our show today. Hello, Mr. Warburton. Nice to have you.
What's up? What's going on?
Nice to have you.
Good to be here.
What?
What's that?
Not much.
All right. So what are we doing today? What are we answering? What's happening?
Well, since you can't physically be in the studio today, we have trapped your soul and body inside this little picture of you on a stick. And so when you ask your questions, you'll be asking them to this little stick Warburton right here. So all you fans in the audience can be talking to your stick friend. And I think we'll start it all off with the big elephant in the room. What's the deal with Galactic Kids Next Door? What's all this stuff going on about it?
Nothing at all right now. It was you know, when Kids Next Door ended, I told Cartoon Network, I said, like, hey, you know, now that we set up that the Galactic Kids Next Door is a galactic organization, like it'd be great to explore that later on. After the show's done. And they said, yeah, that sounds like fun. But, whenever I would bring it up, they'd be like, yeah, the network's not ready to do, a lot of spin-offs and stuff like that. So I just kind of sat on it for a while. And then it got to the point where I was like, I had this kind of story idea for a little trailer. And I just said, like, you know what? Why don't we just do it? Not even say we did it, just do it for fun. I kind of got the band back together. I got Guy Moore, my an incredible director and storyboard artist to do it, to do the board, and she practically animated it. I got my old editor Dave to cut it together. I got the voice actors to jump in, and everyone just was like, "Yes, let's do it." So it was a fun thing. But I told Cartoon Network about it, and they were like, "Yeah, it's fun, but I just don't know if it's ever going to happen." There are a couple people there that I think just aren't interested.
Yeah.
So there are people there that are.
Well, yeah.
I think it'll happen at some point. Everything, Samurai Jack was just announced now, and Powerpuff Girls. So everything comes back at one point or another. So I think it'll happen. It's just not the right time, I guess.
Yeah. And if any other network picked it up, do you think you'd go with it, or are you just trying for?
Well, they can't because Cartoon Network owns it. So a lot of people say, like, oh, why don't you do a Kickstarter, or why don't you take it somewhere else? I don't own Kids Next Door anymore. They bought it from me, and now I get money if they do anything with it. Like, I have certain rights to it. But like, if they could just do a whole new series without me if they want. It's their project. But usually it doesn't behoove them to do that unless the creator of the show is a pain in the butt. And I'm not a pain in the butt. I'm a treasure, and I'm a star. so why would they ever want to get rid of me?
Yeah, you and me both, brother. You and me both.
Right. See, that's why we're talking.
Yeah. So one of the main points of Kids Next Door is that all parents are evil, and that all the kids are the rebellion.
No, not all parents.
Well,
only
most
evil adult supervillains.
Yeah, most adults.
Nice parents, but it's about a show about like where there are evil adult supervillains who want to do things like raise the drinking age of soda up to 13, or make summer school year round. So, sorry, I interrupted you.
Oh yeah, no. Well, that kind of leads into my question. Did you ever get any angry letters from parents saying, like, "What are you trying to tell my children about me?"
Oh, tons. Oh yeah. I mean, most people got the joke, but some people thought, like, "Oh, great, just what we need: more disrespectful children." And usually it was knee-jerk reactions from people who didn't really watch the show. They just thought, like, "Oh, this is an anti-adult show," and it wasn't. It was anti-crazy adult show. So, and that's we all need to fight against crazy adults because there are just too many of them right now.
Yeah. And another thing a lot of people remember about the show is the acronyms for the weapons, the episodes, a lot of things. Did you, and I think you and Mo wrote most of the episodes, right?
Yeah, Mo wrote probably about 2/3 of the episodes. I wrote about 1/3, and then we had some other, some people sprinkled in there. But like the two of us did the majority of the writing.
Would you say you came up with the episode and you came up with the acronyms after?
Yeah. Usually, the episode was always first, and then you came up with the show title. And sometimes you just couldn't, like I did most of the acronyms, and you get really good at it after you've done 10 billion of them. So you'd sit there and try and figure out what the acronym is for the title you created. But honestly, sometimes I get stuck. Like I can't figure this one out, so we renamed the show. So,
Yeah.
but the acronyms is pretty fun. It got even crazier when we started doing the toys, and we had to name every single weapon that was ever in the show, every single vehicle, because we, sometimes in the show you didn't have to name them.
Yeah.
But the toys you had to. So we came up with a lot of. We had to come up with a lot in a very short amount of time, which was kind of fun.
Well, just a reference point for all those operatives out there. This is going to be Operation Livestream. Live streaming is a very effective system to raise enough applicable money, if that works.
That's good.
Thank you. Well, thank you. I expect to. What?
I could have used the help.
Oh yeah. Thanks. Hey, you know how to get to me. So a lot of people, a lot of the internet, after shows off the network for a while, they come up with all kinds of crazy theories. And there's a lot floating around about the entire show is made up or it all takes place in Nigel's head. Could you confirm, defirm, or have anything to say about these theories?
Well, they're all these theories. I mean, you never want to debunk anyone's theory. You don't want, because you don't want to leave a sense of mystery to everything. You want people to have their ideas. You don't want to explain everything. So I love all the theories that happen, and some of them might be right and some of them might be wrong. And I mean, I think some people, seeing the comments, a lot of people want answers to things like, how number one got bald and stuff like that. But like, I don't like giving those away because I want to save those stories for when we actually do get to tell them.
Well, I think we all know that Snoopy taught Charlie Brown a few things about the Red Baron, and then he turned it to number one.
I haven't heard that theory yet, but that's pretty good.
That's the true origin story from what I've heard. But
right.
I guess,
wherever you're hearing from, you just keep listening to that person because they're telling you good stuff.
All right. So we're gonna go into the comments now, see what people are saying. So Number I Lost Count asked, do you? Oh, my favorite word. Do you ship characters like number 1 and number 362? That's just a great question.
I mean, that's kind of like saying like, do you like your kids dating each other? Of course, relationships are an important part of any show. Like, and Kids Next Door was always fun in that, you had your basic relationships. Like number 4 obviously had a thing for number 3, even though he didn't want to admit it. Number 1 had a Lizzie, even though it was a very contentious relationship. But you want to hint at other things that might be going on, and in the last episode, we hinted at what might have happened to them when they, who got married to who. But like, I don't specifically ship anyone, but I love that people ship all that. I mean, that's one of my favorite things about shows is seeing who matches up with who. Some of the matches are so bizarre, which makes it even more fun.
The rainbow monkeys and the hamsters.
But I don't personally. I mean, these are my children.
Yeah. And kind of on the coattails of that, obviously the show's about 10 years old now. Are you still happy to see all these people, obsessing about it everywhere? Oh,
I mean, come on. Like, it's like just the Galactic Kids Next Door response was so amazing, just to see how many people were, how the fans that were like hiding, in the underground networks of cartoon, waiting for this. I especially loved all the GIFs that ended up on Tumblr of things rising from the ashes, and it was just really cool to see that many people excited about it. And what's really cool is, I mean, to this day, the show's been done for 10 years, and still every single day, I get a tweet, an email, a Facebook message, or some sort of Tumblr thing from someone just saying your show changed my life.
Some annoying kid trying to get you on his live streams.
That's right. No, I don't talk to those people.
Oh yeah, I mean, let's be honest.
Only you.
Yeah.
No, I mean, it's. I mean, talk about like just warming your heart. Like all these people that like that. I mean, I remember specifically one day early on when we were making the show. I think it was Mo. Mo said to me, like, later on there are going to be people who grow up saying that was my favorite cartoon when I was a kid. And that sort of like I took a pause. I was like, wow, that's powerful. That's like the same way I love Bugs Bunny and all those cartoons. Like there are people right now who Kids Next Door, that was their thing.
Yeah.
Growing up, like how cool is that to create something that had such an effect on people?
Yeah, it's crazy to think.
There's also a lot of people who grew up saying, I hated that show when it was a cartoon. So that's powerful too.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's crazy to think, I don't know if it's on the same veins, but thinking back to, Hanna-Barbera or Chuck Jones, people that, changed animation, maybe 50 years in the future, people will be thinking that about us too, or you two, rather.
Maybe, I don't know, changed it for the better or the worse. I don't know. I mean, Hanna-Barbera, they did all much greater than I ever did. I was super excited when I worked in New York when I was doing Kids Next Door, and I came out to do the pilot here, and my office was right next to Bill Hammond's. And that was just about one of the coolest. And Joe Barbera was right down the hallway, and you could just walk in their office and just talk to them whenever you wanted. Or sometimes Bill would come in my office and look at the Kids Next Door drawings on the wall and say, "Hey, I really like what you did here. This is great." And talk about how cool is that to have those old masters like right there, to ask questions or advice, and it was really cool.
That is really cool. Wow, that's really cool, actually.
And on the other side, like when I came out to California, I was super excited. Like I wanted a show on Cartoon Network because I loved Dexter's Laboratory and Powerpuff Girls. Like I wanted a show in between those two. And so when I got there, not only did I get to meet Bill Hanna and Joe Barbera, but Gendy Tartakovsky was there, and Craig McCracken, Paul Rudish, who does all the Mickey Mouse shorts now. Like those guys were like my heroes. So I'm just as much of a nerd, like where I like meet the guy or a girl who made a show, and I whip out my sketchbook. I'm like, draw me a picture. Like I love all that stuff.
Wow.
That's one of the most important things I tell students and stuff. Like if you can mix up what you love and what you love in your life and what you love for work, to put those together, that's like the best thing in the world. And I've been lucky to have that.
That was really cool, Tom. That was really cool right there. Wow. Don't know how to top that off, so let's go back to the comments section. Anna Gabby asked, in which order did you create these Sexter V characters? Did you create them in order of what number they are? How did that work?
It's a good question. Originally the Kids Next Door were side characters in my other pilot, Kenny and the Chimp. And they were just the kids that lived next door to Kenny. They weren't like an international, global organization of kids fighting super crazy adults. They were just 5 kids that got Kenny into trouble all the time. So I kind of think I was just doing the group drawing as the group drawing of the 5 of them. I think it just sort of came organically. I don't think I picked one specifically, and they didn't have that specific personalities when I started. So yeah, I can't really say which one came first, but I always knew I wanted, and they didn't have numbers then. They just had names.
Yeah.
But I remembered I wanted the number 1 character to be like a kid that actually talked like Patrick Stewart, just because he thought it was cool. So he wasn't really English or anything. He just liked putting on an accent to sound cool. And then whenever he'd get freaked out by something, his accent would go away. But yeah, I didn't have it. I knew I wanted number 3 to be Japanese. I like groups of international team of experts for things. So yeah, but Anagni she's always on all the posts and stuff. She's one of those super fans that I love seeing stuff from. So thanks for the question.
Yeah. And are there any certain ones that are easier or harder to animate when you're doing big scenes?
Number 2 is kind of hard because he's got those sort of turkey legs to run it. Like he's like a big meatball with little curvy turkey legs. So he was difficult to kind of make run. Their expressions can be difficult if you didn't know. A lot of people would say like, well, they don't have eyes, we can't do expressions. I said, no, that's you only see their eyes when you really have to, when you're really trying to get an emotion through. Or some people, I don't think that was a problem. Some people who just weren't familiar with the characters had that, brought that up. But no, my characters are all pretty simple. They're all made out of basic shapes. Like number 1 is just like a watermelon with like two smaller watermelons for sunglasses and a little pimple for a nose and cookies for ears. My drawing is really simple. I'm not an incredible draftsman. I just have a certain style that I can do. Like that. Yeah, like anyone can do that.
But but no one can do it with the style that you can.
Exactly.
And back to the comments. Anything? Let's see. How did the numbers thing develop? And was it by accident, or did you do it because you thought it would be cool?
Both. I think it also came from, I think when I just said when number one was sort of a Patrick Stewart ripoff from Star Trek: The New Generation, and he always called Riker number one. And I think that sort of came from that a little bit. Like, he's just a number one, you've got the helm. And then, like, as they became this bigger group, I just thought, like, spies need code names, and it just became fun coming up with numbers like, number 2 short, or number 1968, who's a hippie who's constantly having flashbacks. It's a fun concept to like give everyone silly numbers. And one of my things with coming up with TV shows and stuff, like, you want an entry point to bring kids in. So the Kids Next Door is a global organization of kids that are everywhere. They've got sectors in every state, country, town, and as a kid watching the show, you could say, I'm sector D because I live in Delaware, and my number is number 74 because that's what year I was born. I like that you give an entry point for viewers to make their own thing, and that's what the numbers kind of did. That's what the sectors did, and they could come up with their own supervillains in their town for what the supervillains from Kids Next Door were personifications of kid problems. And they could come up with their own problems and turn them into a supervillain. And again, I get letters from kids saying like, I was number this, and my friend was this, and they had their own sector. Like, how cool is that? That's
great. I can tell you that Sector NH is cold year round, and not a lot of fun. Not a lot of fun at all.
Right, they wear a lot of fleece.
They wear a lot of fleece.
Jackets, yeah.
And complain a lot about taxes. A lot of fun.
Right.
How did the K&D get the money for all those gadgets? Ask someone in the comments. Was it their parents?
That's a very good question. I don't know. I think it's just they have maybe they have big sales, or some cookies, or maybe they've got a stock in rainbow monkeys or something. But yeah, that was one of the questions. And the other question was, who pays for all the destruction they put on their neighborhood every week?
It was Galactic Bake Sales. That should be the new series, Galactic Bake Sales.
Galactic Bake Sale, yeah.
That'd be great.
Maybe that would work.
Or like a reality show kind of Galactic Bake Sales. Oh, that'd be something. Was Spy Kids an inspiration for Codename Kids Next Door? Asks some comment guy.
It's a good question. I don't know. Did the first Spy Kids come out before Kids Next Door? I don't know. I don't know. It wasn't an inspiration, but I think there's a similarity there.
Yeah.
I like those movies. I thought they were cool. Kids Next Door wasn't really all about spies. It was more about just fighting adult villains. So there are similarities, but no, not really.
Yeah, and on the coattails of that, even though it is kind of a generic question, what are, probably the biggest influences on Kids Next Door?
A lot of anime. I got into anime very early when I was in high school here, because I found like some Miyazaki films at a comic convention, and I got into Robotech and all that stuff. And so a lot of the anime stuff was there. A lot of you could see some James Bond influences here and there, like Mr. Wink and Mr. Kid, where it became Mr. Wink and Mr. Fib. One Piece, a lot of manga was an influence. Naruto, what other? God, so many. X-Men, obviously. Indiana Jones, Star Wars, like kind of anything and everything. Like I'm very. I do a lot of. I read. I watch movies. I watch TV. Like I like to soak in everything I can, and that becomes what you make shows out of, and what you make stories out of, and what you make drawings out of. So I can't name any single influences, but kind of everything. Nerd culture.
Yeah.
Trading card games was an influence. So there's a billion influences there.
And on the veins that you said you like Star Wars, you excited for the new movie?
I am, but I've been hurt before, so I don't want to get. I don't want to get too excited.
Well, you work for the mouse now, right? You work for Disney?
I work for Disney, yeah.
So
I was really excited because we had an all-staff meeting of all of TV animation, and there was a rumor going around that they were going to show like 10 minutes of the movie to us. So a bunch of us were sitting there like, yeah, and it never happened. So once again, I was hurt. So
we'll get him next time. That says make him talk about how he learned about animation and went to school. What did you study?
I went to a small school in the middle of nowhere, Pennsylvania, called Kutztown. I went to school for graphic design because at the time, that's what they said you could be an artist and make money doing. Because they didn't make up the term starving artist. So like, what's your job going to be? So I went to school for graphic design, and I didn't really like it. So I had I was out with a friend one night, and she said, like, so how your class is going? I'm like, I really don't like graphic design. And she said, well, you're going to have to you're going to graduate with a degree in that. Like, if you don't like it, you should probably figure out what you're going to do. And she said, this is the most important question that was ever posed to me in my life. What is the job that you would laugh at people paying you to do? I said, well, making cartoons. That's got to be like the greatest thing in the world. And she said, well, why don't you do it? And I said, well, I'm not good enough. You have to be like the best artist in the world. Then you have to make it move. And she said, well, you're like, if you're in college, now is the time to get better at it. Now is the time to fight to do it. And I was like, all right, I'll show you. And I did. I probably should have transferred to more of a real animation school, but I stayed at Kutztown, and I took a lot of independent studies. I had a teacher there, Dr. Tom Shantz, who was really into animation, and he pushed me, and really he got me interviews with animators like Bill Plimpton to talk to. And it was and once I graduated, I got a list of all the animation studios in New York, and I just walked around and showed my portfolio and said, will someone please give me a job? And eventually a small studio called Buzzco Associates did. And from there on, I started at the bottom, washing coffee cups and all that stuff. And then I got to learn how to do in-betweens, and then I got to, paint cells and, work my way up the ladder. But, every way to start in the business is different. Everyone's got a different story. There are a billion ways to do it. Nowadays, some people are doing comic books, and then they end up in animation, or they're hiring storyboard artists because they like their work on Tumblr. There's a billion ways to get in the business right now.
I know Carl Greenblatt did that when he was doing Harvey Beaks. He just found people on Tumblr.
Yeah, Carl got most of his storyboard artists off of Tumblr. Yeah. He said I can teach people to storyboard, but I can't teach them to be funny. So he got people who he thought did really funny webcomics and brought them in, and he's had great success with that. Yeah,
and even now, I think Daniel Chong, who makes We Bear Bears, he started out as a webcomic, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, Cartoon Network is all about finding the webcomic people nowadays. So if you want to show these days, a great way to start is by doing a really funny webcomic.
Just get out there. If you're an aspiring animator, just get out there.
Well, that's my advice to most people when they say, like, how do you get in the business? How do you how do you become successful? And the answer is make great stuff. Just make great stuff and get it out there. It's easier said than done, but make a comic, make a film, do artwork and post it online. Just get it out there and get reactions from people on it. The more people that see it, the better. And if people tell you, and no matter what you do, people are going to tell you suck. So, you just got to get it out there, get a thick skin, and try and get a big audience. And if you get a big audience, the networks will come to you. You don't have to go to them. So easier said than done. But
would you say that a network is more likely to pick up something that you think people will really like, or something that you kind of aim towards the network?
That's a very good question. I think with Cartoon Network is, with, like we said about webcomics, they're looking specifically for people that already have a vision and already have an idea, and they say, hey, we want to make that into a show. It's harder nowadays it's harder to come in with a brand new idea to a network and convince them that this will be great. People are scared of taking chances, so they want to do something. Oh, look, that already has 100,000 people following it, so it must be popular. You know, making cartoons is a huge expense. Like all those shows that fail cost millions of dollars, and the one show like SpongeBob pays for all that. And if you don't have that SpongeBob, then what's paying for all those failures? So networks, like making a show for them is really, really a huge financial strain. So they have to be careful. They can't just throw money at every idea. But then they also tend to get in strangleholds where they're afraid to make anything because it's nerve-wracking. It's millions of dollars that can go down the tubes. So, you know, a lot of people like yell at the networks that they're not taking chances. Well, it's like, that's easy for you to say. You're not spending, you know, like $25 million on getting a show out the door.
Are there any certain cartoons on the air right now that you enjoy watching?
I think Gumball is like the best cartoon on TV. I think the style is amazing. I think the humor is great. It's sweet. It's touching. Like, I think it's just a fantastic show. And I love how all the characters are in different styles. Yeah. I think they're brilliant. I like Gravity Falls. I think does some great stuff. I like Teen Titans. I think is brilliant. I know a lot of people hate it, but I think it's funny. I love the style, the design. People will hate me for liking it, but I think it's great. My kids love it. And again, that's what I think a lot of people forget. Like I have an 8-year-old and a 12-year-old, and I talk to them and a lot of their friends at school about what cartoons they like, and what kids like is much different than what people on the internet like. Yeah. So you have to remember that like all these internet people who hate Teen Titans because you know it's dumbing down their iconic cartoon characters. Comic book characters. A lot of kids on the schoolyard love it because it's just dumb and funny. And you have to remember that it's not for a lot of these cartoons aren't quite for you. They're for kids 6 to 12. Yeah.
All right. Let's see. Where's the cover looking like? So on the veins of what you just said, what do you think that Gravity Falls does right? Because I see everybody about everybody I know loves Gravity Falls. What do you yourself think it does right?
Well, Alex is very meticulous about. He always had an idea of what the show was going to be, and he writes and he rewrites and they do a lot of work on the show to make it better and better and better and better. And again, he kind of had a blueprint in his mind for what he wanted to do. Not everyone has that, and not a lot of people are willing to put in the work to do a show. They kind of like. I don't even know what I want to say, how I want to describe it. But yeah, Alex is just one of those people that just knows what he wants and just puts his head down and barrels right into it. And I think that's not to say that some people who do put their head down and barrel into it still fail. Yeah. But for some reason, whatever he has in his head, it's working.
Yeah. So you did just mention your kids, 8 and 12, and I know there's all kinds of pictures on your blog about how you draw them all kinds of funny things on the lunchboxes. Do kids at their school ever say like, "Hey, that looks like the Codename Kids Next Door show"?
Yeah. Some people, some kids, the boys will come up to me and say like, "Oh, so and so realized that you were the Kids Next Door guy and wants your autograph." And some people recognize it. Or more funny is that like parents come up to me on the at school and say like, "Thanks a lot, jerk. Now my kid wants me to draw on their lunch bags." So, the lunch bags thing has been pretty cool. The reactions have been really fun. I think the kids are kind of bored of them at this point, but I don't care. I do it as just a fun exercise. And I think every artist needs to have some sort of exercise like that, just to like keep your juices flowing. There was a question from another huge Kids Next Door fan, Jay Goldstein. I saw in the comments. He said like, "What do you do when you get like artist block when you're stuck?" And that's like, just make stuff. Find an exercise every day. I have on my desk at work, I have a little sketchbook where every day I do a profile drawing. And I have to, and like the rule is, I can't think about it. I just have to do it. It's 2 minutes, just draw something. It's a great exercise. I don't like a lot of the drawings in there, but it's just getting it out, moving the pencil, just getting your brain moving. The lunch bags are that too. Just give yourself an exercise so you're always doing something. And then you never know, it might turn into something. I have sketchbooks that I keep. I just fill with ideas. And one day when someone says, "We need a show about mushrooms," I'm like, "Oh, I did a bunch of drawings of mushrooms a long time ago. Like, maybe that can be it." So really just keep moving. Don't like, even if you don't like what you're doing, just find a way to give yourself exercises.
All right, so back to the comments. What is the most valuable characteristic that an animator can have now, like in this market?
Handsomeness.
Wow.
Valuable is just being versatile, is being able to do anything, any style. I mean, working in animation, you are going to be working on a billion different styles. One, you know, like look at all the shows I've worked on. I've worked on Sheep in a Big City, which was a very stylish, like line quality, stylish kind of like beatnik drawing.
Yeah.
Pepper Ann, which was, I mean, created my own kind of style because I helped design the characters. I worked on Dub for Nickelodeon. I worked on Beavis and Butthead. That's a totally different style. I worked on Fish Hooks, totally different style. Like so many.
And even now, you're on the 7D right now.
7D is a totally different style. So you need to be able to like. I remember in art school, everyone said, "Don't copy other people's work." And like in animation, that's really important. You have to be able to draw other people's work. It's also important to have your own style, so you have your thing. But you need to be able to draw. And I worked in commercials for years doing animation, where one day I'd be drawing super squiggly, artsy fartsy, like just nonsense drawings, and the next day I'd be drawing Gary Trudeau from Doonesbury. The next day I'd be drawing mechanical gears turning. And I'm not good, I'm not good at that kind of stuff, but I could fake it enough that I could make it work, and I would bleed from my pencil while I was doing it. But you need to be able to do it, to do any style, any style. Now, that's not to say there are certain people that are specialists in one style and they don't really go out of that. But I think for working in animation, you really need to just be versatile and be able to draw in any style.
Yeah, and I think this might not be correct, but you worked on Schoolhouse Rock shorts, right?
Yeah, I did. We did at J.J. Settlemyer Productions. We did 3. I think they did some more after I left, but while I was there, we did 3. We did The Tale of Mr. Morton, Dollars and Cents, and Busy Peas. And we were working with the original guys who did them, which was amazing because, I'm just a Bill when I was a kid. You love those things in between Saturday morning cartoons. So those were really fun to work on. Tale of Mr. Morton was probably my favorite. That was the first project that I kind of got to direct. So it was really fun to have that experience. But yeah, Schoolhouse Rock was pretty great.
One of my favorite parts of the old Schoolhouse Rocks was the note he hits on Mr. Morton was lonely. Like Mr. Morton was lonely.
Yeah. Bob Duro is just incredible. Just what a voice he has.
All right, what are the comments looking like? What does bleed from my pencil mean?
Who asked that?
Who was that? Someone.
Okay.
Someone who can't bleed from their pencil.
It means that it's hard. You can't, like when I have to draw mechanical illustrations of gears turning, like it's just I can't, like I'm not good at it. So it's just, you have to fight to get it done. So like just bleeding from every pore, bleeding from your pencil, it just means it's impossible. But somehow you make it work.
Yeah. And somehow you get some question YouTube comments about it.
Yeah. Well, maybe they'll use that in their daily life now.
All right, let's see. Alex Gallagher asked, what was the character the Steve just thought up for a treaty, or was there much more to this character that we haven't seen?
Oh, I'm sure there's a lot more. Yeah, I think so many characters they would start out in one story and then they'd get cut out of a story. Yeah, there was a bigger thing to the Steve. But
Steve.
Yeah, but he came out in that episode Treaty. That was his big thing. I think we had some ideas for him later, but it was getting towards the end. We didn't get to do much with him, but he was fun.
Yeah, I did. Everybody likes the Steve.
Anyone who puts "the" in front of their name there's stories to tell.
And I know I'm the Gruppeteer myself. And although anybody who goes by Mr. all the time is pretty, has got something to tell too, I guess.
That's very true. Very true. Or someone who goes by who calls himself a star, and a treasure. And they've got something. They've got stories to tell.
They got the skills. All right, what's it looking like in the comments? Oh, it's a big one. Oh, all right. Michelle Y asked if there will ever be a prequel to the Codename Kids Next Door because she thinks it would be an easier approach to the series.
Cartoon Network was starting. They were doing a preschool block for a while. That was called, with the unfortunate name, Tickle U, like Tickle University, which just sounded creepy. But the block didn't last long. But I pitched them a show called Pre-K&D that I thought would be just an amazing, like, you know, like not dumbed down, but simpler version of Kids Next Door, where like adults have stolen the color red. And they have to figure out how to find it. And the network liked the idea, but then they said, it is hard. And I don't quite agree with this logic, but they said that if a show starts out as a preschool show, it's harder for kids to get older kids to like it, because then they always think of it as baby show. So they didn't want to get kids started at the preschool level. So I understood what they were saying. I don't know if I believed it, but
well, you can kind of see the opposite. I mean, everybody remembers Rugrats, but All Grown Up isn't exactly as remembered.
Right. Yeah. So I don't know. Like, I think it would have been a fun idea. I think we could have done it, but that wasn't even really a prequel. That was just a different idea for a show. A prequel. I don't know if it would be easier to do. I mean, we'd have to like. There's so much mythology now to have to try and backtrack and figure out how to do a prequel would be. I mean, we have a lot of it already, but I don't know. I don't know whether. I would rather go forward. I'd rather go the Galactic Kids Next Door route and flashback to some prequel stuff.
Yeah, I mean, sorry, Michelle, but I don't think that dream is going to come true anytime soon. Unless on the spot you can come up with some crazy improv story.
For a prequel story?
Yeah, sure.
I mean, like I said, I've got a lot of prequel stuff already lined up, but how these characters got to where they are. But maybe we'll tell that story one day.
Yeah. All right. Let's see. Martina asks, how did Father get his powers?
I don't think I even know the answer to that. I think out of sheer, I think he just got so angry that he just started to burst into flames and then learned how to control it. Is he a creature from another planet? He could be, because we've set up galactic stuff. But I think he's just someone that's so fed up with kids that he just, through sheer force of will, he built up superpowers.
Got himself a morph suit, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Do you as you are a father, do you ever use father quotes when you're trying to talk to your kids when they just get on your nerves?
No, I can't do that good of an imitation of Father, but Maurice LaMarche, the guy that plays him, still there was the line where when he said like, "This place smells like a poo museum." That's still one of his favorite lines. Anytime I see him at a record for 7D or something, he has to do that line again. I wouldn't say my parenting style goes along with fathers from the Kids Next Door.
I would hope not.
Yeah.
Do you ever use just a K&D quote just in your daily routine?
Well, a lot of just the way I speak went into Kids Next Door anyway. I don't know if I still use super but I spell it SOOPER, which I kind of did before Kids Next Door anyway, but it got hammered in there. I still use 11 billion a lot, like in just normal conversation, like, when we go to buy a Christmas tree, like, this tree costs $11 billion, outrageous. I wouldn't say that. I think it's more like my language leaked into Kids Next Door, and then a lot of Mo's did too. Like all TV shows become a huge string of inside jokes. So, I think some Kids Next Door leaked into my life too.
Are you ever like trying to get the kids into the car for school, and you're like, "Kids, battle stations"?
No, haven't done that one. I think they would just glare at me like I'm a weirdo. But they do that all right. But all right. We haven't done that.
Michelle is back again, and she's asking, what do you think about the fan theory that number 100 is Steve? Again, with the fan theories.
I've never heard that one before. That's a good question. I never thought about that. That's pretty good. I guess the age would work out. Huh, I have to think about that one.
This is a stumper even for him.
Yeah, that's a good one.
You know, you redeemed yourself, Michelle. That was a pretty good one.
Yeah.
I'm actually stuck on that for a second. I'm thinking, gears are turning. I think we know the plot of Galactic Kids Next Door now.
Right. Well, it's interesting. Like even with the idea of number one's dad being a number 0.
Yeah.
That came up. Allison Wilgus, who was she started as a PA and then worked her way into color stylist and then worked her way into actually being a writer on the show. She became one of our greatest sources for pitching episodes. She would come up with great like 2-sentence ideas for things, and she actually came up with the fact that number one's dad is the greatest Kids Next Door operative ever, and I think she came up with that like 3rd season or something like that. But we're like, oh god, that's a movie. That's something much bigger. So you put those things aside and save them for later. But who knows? Maybe number 100 being the Steve could be one of in the next series.
Yeah, and on the subject of Candy movies, obviously there's 0, and there's Operation Interviews, which part of it is live action. How did you choose who you thought would be a really good live action version of these cartoon characters?
It was actually hard because in New York there's not the deep well of casting that there is in LA. So we were kind of limited by what actors were in New York, and we had very specific. We interviewed a ton of Japanese women for number 3, but when we said Japanese women, we got a lot of people that had accents, and we couldn't understand them. So we lost a lot of people because their accent was too thick. So then we had to say we wanted someone without an accent, so we had to recast for that. Number 4 was kind of tough because we wanted someone that had that swagger. Number 2 came. I mean, the guy who did him walked in. And we were like, yes, you. Fran J, who did number 5, she was another one who came in, and she was just so sassy and funny, and like she just got it right away. We're like, oh, you're number 5. So that was really fun coming up with that. And I and the rest of the production didn't have a lot of experience with live action. So it was all kind of new to us, and all these actors were just looking at us like we were a bunch of weirdos making a film in our basement.
Do you remember any specific lines?
The process was long because we were very specific in what we needed, and there just wasn't a deep pool of people in New York. So, but it happened, and it came out great.
Do you remember any specific lines like you fed them and they just kind of looked at you like, what?
Yeah, the guy who played number 4 was kind of like he would sort of roll his eyes at times, like, "What have I got myself into?"
That's number 4.
I'm a professional actor. Why am I with these idiots? He seemed. Everyone else was having fun with it. They realized what we were doing, that it was just this one-off weirdo thing. Number 4 guy seemed a little annoyed at times. Like I think he expected maybe a more interesting acting gig.
Have you seen him since the episode?
No. Fran, who plays number 5, I'm friends with her on Facebook, and I see a lot of her every once in a while. She says, "Hey," but the others just were passing ships.
That's it. All in the wind with the Kids Next Door. And in the comments, can you talk a little more about how you came up with the show's ideas? Asks. Oh, that's a lot of people. Asked a lot of people.
That's great. So Mo and I wrote most of the stories, and we had on our wall, on the wall in my office, we had an area called Purgatory, which we just wrote on note cards, kid issues. So we would write peanut butter and jelly, dog ate my homework, pink eye, parents won't let me go. Parents won't let me go out past 6 o'clock. Don't like broccoli. So probably a couple times a week, Mo and I would go out to lunch. We'd grab like maybe 10 cards off the wall, and we'd read them to each other, and we'd say, dog ate my homework. And so we start brainstorming, like, what can we do with that? Okay, what if there's werewolves that they turn, once they turn into werewolves, the only way to turn back is if they eat someone's homework, so they have to do it. My favorite was pink eye, when I said, I forget how the order went, but I said, like, pink eye, or Mo said pink eye. Why do adults want to give kids pink eye? And I said, to harvest the crust. And but for what? And Mo said, topping for apple cobbler. And right away we both went, ew, and we knew we had a story. So, we came up with this nurse who's harvesting crust from people's eyes to make money in a bake sale. So
that's our editor. Don't worry.
I thought you were being mugged for a second.
Oh yeah, no. He came in here. He wanted his question answered. I mean, I swear.
Okay. So that's how this. And then once you had that sort of germ of a story, then one of us would go off and write the episode. We would write it all on note cards, beat by beat. So the first card would be, we open on the treehouse on a rainy night. Cut inside to number 2's room. He's cowering under his covers at the sounds of the rain outside. So each card would be a beat, and it would just be this wall of cards. And then whoever wrote the story would get up and pitch that story to a crowd. The crowd, the storyboard artists, some designers, the producer, and then everyone would rip the story to shreds, and then you'd run home crying with your tail between your legs and rewrite the episode, and then come back. And then Mo and I would hand it off a couple times to each other and fix it. And then we'd go off to the storyboard artists, and then the storyboard artists would take it and they would add their spin to it. So we left the writing pretty wide, so it gave them room to have fun writing dialogue or coming up with action sequences. And very often they'd come up to me. This one storyboard artist, Jesse, would always come up to me and say, this sequence seems a little weak. Can we make this cooler? I was like, yes, you can do it. So it's a group. Animation is always a group effort. But Kids Next Door writing was pretty fun in that respect, of just how a story got built.
Do you remember anything in specific that you tried to pitch and the network was like, no?
Not specifically. We were very lucky. We were very I think in the entire 6 seasons we did, we only had one story that got written all the way through that got killed. But lots of little story ideas got killed. I can't remember any specific, but usually we would be able to turn that story into something else. The original story, the story that got killed was a Thanksgiving episode, which eventually turned into the one with what was it? When number 1 had to get the cranberry sauce.
Yeah.
It was originally cranberry sauce. And it was a little too alcoholic. Number 2 was addicted to cranberry sauce and was couldn't help eating it right out of the can. And the network was like, nah, that's a little too harsh. So we changed it into the chocolate sauce thing, which worked better.
All right. I don't know where the comments looking. Where did the delightful children come from? And when you recorded their lines, did you record them individually, or did you have all the people speak at one time? Which probably would have been a pain if you did the second option. Yeah,
the Delightful Children were just, they were an idea. You needed some good foil. With the Kids Next Door who were rebellious, you needed some kids who were the goody-goodies. And I kind of like that Children of the Corn, blonde, bright-eyed, evil thing.
Yeah.
I love the idea that they were just in this group that couldn't be separated. When we recorded them, it was only 3 voices. It was Ben Diskin, who voices both number 1 and number 2. It was D. Bradley Baker, who does number 4, and Cree Summer, who did number 5. And the 3 of them would sort of talk in harmony at the same time. And they just got into a rhythm. They knew how to do it. And sometimes it would be one person would be too loud. But then, once they did it a bunch of times, they just knew how to record it and make it sound creepy. I think Cree's voice was the one that had that sort of that gave it that extra edge of creepiness, Nigel Uno. Her voice really, I guess all of them did it. They were all creepy.
Yeah.
I love those guys because they're creepy.
Are there any villains in the show that you specifically like the most?
Oh God, I can't pick one. Father was anytime Maurice LaMarche did a line for Father, we were just in tears laughing because the way he stretches out words. Count Spaculot, Darren Norris has the most infectious laugh I've ever heard in my life. Every line that comes out of him was just so enthusiastic and goofy and funny. Mark Hamill as Sticky Beard was amazing.
Oh, yeah.
One of my favorite stories about him was he told me, this is years ago, he said that he when he would visit his sister, he said, my niece and nephew have no interest in me whatsoever. Like, I'm Luke Skywalker, and they don't care. And I'm always trying to impress them, and nothing ever worked. And then I'm at their house for Christmas, and I see them watching Kids Next Door. So I say to them, "Hey, I'm Sticky Beard." And so then I was sorry after I said that, because then they made me talk in the voice of Sticky Beard all weekend. So anytime I was like, let's go out for eggnog, kids.
So Mark Hamill, Luke Skywalker, and the Joker from Batman is best known by some of his family members for his role in your show.
Right? Right?
That's awesome. That's great.
I know, it's amazing.
Wow.
So he was great as Sticky Beard. What other villains? Mr. Boss was always funny. The Toilinator was amazing. Toilinator started out as like the idea. He was like just a one shot. Like, we needed just the worst villain ever, and he turned into this huge part of the show, which was just so much fun. Yeah.
And that Toilinator, actually one of the most popular characters. He was even, and this is my little segue, even featured in the Smash Bros. Style Cartoon Network game Punch Time Explosion, along with Father Number One. Have you ever played Punch Time Explosion? Yeah.
They sent me copies of it so I could check it out. Yeah, it's a fun game. I mean, having video games, video games with your characters in it, like, is pretty awesome.
Yeah.
When we did the Kids Next Door console game, I got to write a lot of the episode, and I got to test they sent me this like special Xbox that was only for developers making the game, so I could play the game and sort of watch it and get notes. And it was, I mean, how cool is that?
That's pretty neat. Pretty neat. All right. There are lots of comments about the apple crumbles. It seems like you have ruined apple crumble for a lot of people. How do you feel after destroying apple crumble for all these people?
Which is a shame, because I like apple crumble. I can think of a lot of other desserts I'd rather destroy. I think that was just kind of collateral damage from a show. I still eat apple crumble. I can get past it. If there's any eye crust in there, I can get past that. Same way number 2 did.
Well, what other kind of desserts are you thinking of destroying?
Oh God, what desserts could I tell you? Well, I don't like Skittles, which isn't really a dessert. And I'm trying to think, what dessert do I not like? I'm totally drawing a blank here on what desserts I don't like. I just like dessert. How about that?
Do you think you could get away with ruining Skittles if you made like some agreement with the Skittles company?
Oh, I totally destroy Skittles in a second.
They're a weird kind of chewy, and they're fake M&Ms. They trick me every time.
Yeah, peanut M&Ms are the way to go.
Oh, have you? The peanut butter ones are really good too.
Oh yeah, anything with peanut butter. Anything with peanut butter is okay.
We gotta have our own cooking show.
Cooking with Kids Next Door.
Yeah. Don't go around saying that. You're gonna give people ideas. What kind of food do you think would match each of their personalities? Actually, on that subject, weird question, but it could have some mileage.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Number 2, obviously, like chili dogs. That was his thing. That was his thing in the show. Number one probably doesn't think about food because he's too busy afraid someone's poisoning him. So number 3 likes obviously any sort of like cutesy rainbow monkey sort of
marshmallow
food, decorated bento boxes. I think she'd like. She probably wouldn't eat any food unless it was shaped like a cute cat or something. Number 4 just wants candy. Just wants candy. And number 5, what did she have? Well, she was into candy too. I mean, she was the candy hunter. So I mean, in general, just the Kids Next Door like candy.
Right back into the comments. That was a cool Mark Hamill story. Someone in the comments says, "Have you ever met any other huge stars?"
Huge stars. I mean,
huge. I mean, supernovas. I'm talking.
Well, I mean, I met a lot of them working on fish hooks and stuff. But on Kids Next Door, I'm trying to think what other giant stars.
Yeah, you know Justin Roiland from Fish Hooks, the Rick and Morty guy.
Yeah, Justin Roiland. He was he helped develop Fish Hooks, and then he was the voice of Oscar, obviously.
Yeah.
So that was pretty exciting to see him explode with Rick and Morty, because he would show us ideas for it when he was working on Fish Hooks, and now it's just become a monster.
Yeah.
Tim Preston is just like the super nicest guy in the world. Funny, like he deserves it. He's a good guy.
And actually, kind of on the subject of people you worked with, a lot of people remember the crossover with the Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy. You and Maxwell Adams are good friends, right?
Yep. He's one of my best friends, and we met each other when we were both doing pilots for Cartoon Network, and I still lived in New York at the time, and we just kept in touch all the time. And whenever I would come back to California for a voice record, we'd get together and hang out. And still to this day, I probably go out to lunch with him once a week or something like that. And right now he's over at Warner Brothers doing some projects over there. And yeah, he's a really, really great friend.
And anything in the comments? Oh, it's a big one. It's a big one right here. What's it gonna be? What's it gonna be, editor?
A novel.
Is this a Pulitzer Prize winner right here? We gotta see it. Oh, he's not showing me yet. It's gonna be something. It's gonna be something huge. Oh boy! All right.
It's probably from my friend Linda telling me, what's your problem? What's wrong with you?
The Supreme Leader numbers go up in increments: 0, 100, 200. Is it on purpose that they do this?
No, there's really no rhyme or reason to the numbering system. I mean, why is number one the number one operative in the entire universe? There's no rhyme or reason to the order of them.
And I hate to say it, but we're closing to the end. So I'm afraid so.
We're having so much fun.
We are having fun, aren't we? You gotta come back. You gotta come back for round 2 sometime.
Yeah. Tons more interesting people to interview than me.
Oh well, I wouldn't say that. You're a lot of fun. You're a lot of fun, man. But any departing words for anybody who's wanting to get into the animation industry?
I think, as I said before, just make stuff. Get out there and make a comic book, make a web comic, animate stuff online. Write a little picture book. Just make stuff, and the networks will come to you. Get your drawings out there on Tumblr, wherever. They have a lot on Tumblr. They have little drawing contests where they come up with a theme, like Knights or Pokemon. Or just get your stuff out there and get a following and get people interested in you. Because nowadays networks are just trolling through Tumblr and places and websites looking for new artists who can do stuff. Before, you had to wait for people to send in portfolios. Now they have people specifically whose job is specifically to track down these people. So get your stuff out there. Don't sit there and say like, "Oh, my work stinks." Obviously do the best work you can and get it out there, but don't keep it to yourself. Get it out there.
And
the network will come to you.
That might not be the departure. I think we have one more. Do you have any more causes? Oh yeah, do you have any more? Obviously, the show is all to help benefit people with cancer. Do you have any more causes that you feel strongly about people should donate to?
Feel strongly to donate to. I mean, yeah, cancer research is a big thing. I have family members who have gone through cancer and stuff like that. I like obviously taking care of animals is always important. Environment. Fighting evil adult supervillains. I think always. That needs to be. That's an issue that has not come up in this presidential debate at all. And,
I don't know. I think Trump might resort to it.
Yeah,
I'd like to see it.
He kind of is an evil adult supervillain. So, but yeah, so yeah. I mean, I love that you're doing this for your friend, and it's good news that the cancer didn't spread to her lungs. So let's keep hoping it gets better and better.
Well, again, everybody who watched is, of course, part of the cause. And if you'd like to go donate, then check the description below. Even $1 can help. And also in the description below is the pilot for Galactic Kids Next Door. And Mr. Warburton, the creator of Codename Kids Next Door, obviously. We were so happy to have you on today. Thank you so much.
Thanks, man. So good to be here. Thanks for reaching out.
And if you want to see the next episode of Cartoons versus Cancer, it is at 12 p.m. December 22nd with Rob Renzetti, the creator of My Life as a Teenage Robot.
Ooh, he's awesome. I like him.
Oh yeah, he's pretty neat. He wanted to do an interview with me, so how bad can he be?
That's great.
All right, so we will see you guys later, and thanks for tuning in.
Take care.